The world can change in a single, unexpected moment. For Ryan, a single dad working 2 jobs just to keep the lights on, that moment came in the lobby of a luxury hotel when a powerful CEO mistook him for her security guard. He could have corrected her right then. But something in her voice, the way she spoke, tired but kind, made him stay silent. What began as a small act of politeness soon turned into a story that neither of them would ever forget, a story about kindness, second chances, and love finding its way through the cracks of 2 broken hearts. Hey everyone, welcome back to your channel name, where we share emotional and inspiring stories that remind us what truly matters: kindness, compassion, and the power of the human heart. If you enjoy stories like this, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and drop a comment below about the most unexpected act of kindness you've ever witnessed. Your story might inspire someone else today. Ryan was 36, a single dad raising his 8-year-old daughter, Emma, in a small town outside Chicago. Life hadn't been easy since his wife passed away 3 years earlier. He worked mornings as a delivery driver and evenings as a hotel valet downtown. Money was tight, but Ryan never complained. Every morning, before heading to work, he'd make pancakes with smiley faces for Emma, packing her lunch with a handwritten note that always said, "Be kind, my sunshine." One Friday night, after finishing his shift at the hotel, he noticed a sleek black car pull up. The driver jumped out and opened the back door for a woman in a navy blue suit. She looked sharp, confident, the kind of person who belonged in a world far away from Ryan's. She stepped into the lobby, scanning the area with urgency. When her eyes landed on Ryan, standing near the entrance in his valet jacket, she hurried over. "Good, you're here," she said briskly. "We have to be quick. There's a man following me. Just stay close." Ryan blinked, unsure what to say. Before he could respond, she started walking toward the elevator, clearly expecting him to follow. Something inside him told him not to embarrass her, not to make the situation worse. Maybe she really was scared. So he simply nodded and walked beside her, keeping his eyes open, pretending, for that moment, to be her security guard. When the elevator doors closed, she exhaled in relief. "Thank you," she murmured. "I hate when people don't take no for an answer." Ryan smiled softly. "You're welcome, ma'am." As the elevator opened to the top floor, she turned to him and said, "Wait, you're not with my team, are you?" Ryan scratched the back of his neck. "Actually, no ma'am. I'm just the valet." Her eyes widened then, to his surprise, she laughed. A real, heartfelt laugh that echoed down the hallway. "Well, that explains why you didn't have an earpiece." "I'm sorry. You must think I'm insane." Ryan grinned. "No, ma'am. Just human." She introduced herself as Claire Benson, CEO of a major tech company that had just opened a branch in Chicago. She insisted on giving him a tip, but he politely refused. "You don't owe me anything. I'm just glad you're safe." That moment could have ended right there. But fate and kindness had other plans. The next evening, when Ryan arrived for his shift, the hotel manager pulled him aside. "You've got a guest asking for you," he said with a curious smile. In the lobby stood Claire, holding 2 cups of coffee. "I figured you might like a real thank you," she said. Ryan hesitated. Guests never did things like that. But something in her warm smile felt genuine. They sat down in a quiet corner of the lobby, sipping coffee and talking like old friends. She asked about his daughter, about his work, about how he managed everything on his own. "I don't always manage," he admitted softly. "But I try to stay kind. Life's tough enough without adding more bitterness to it." Claire looked down at her cup. "You sound like someone who's lost a lot," she said gently. Ryan nodded. "My wife, a few years ago. Cancer." There was a silence, the kind that says more than words ever could. Claire reached across the table and touched his hand. "I'm sorry," she said. "I lost someone too." From that evening on, Claire started visiting the hotel often. Sometimes with coffee. Sometimes with food for Ryan and Emma. One weekend, she even invited them both to a company charity event. Emma, wearing her favorite yellow dress, couldn't stop smiling as Claire introduced her to everyone. "This is Emma," she said proudly. "And her dad, my favorite hero in disguise." Ryan tried to hide his blush. "I'm no hero," he said. Claire looked at him with that gentle, knowing smile. "You are. You just don't know it." Over the next few months, their friendship deepened. They'd meet after Ryan's shifts, walking by the river, talking about everything and nothing. Claire confessed how lonely her life was despite her success. How people treated her like a title, not a person. Ryan, with his quiet honesty, reminded her what real connection felt like. But as feelings began to grow, so did the distance between their worlds. One night, Claire's business partner, a sharp man in an expensive suit, confronted Ryan in the lobby. "Let's be clear," he said coldly. "You're not in her league. Stay in your lane, valet." Ryan didn't respond. He just looked the man in the eye and said, "Kindness doesn't have a league." Later that night, Claire found Ryan sitting outside on the steps. "He talked to you, didn't he?" she asked quietly. Ryan sighed. "He's right. You're building empires, Claire. I'm just trying to build a decent life for my daughter." Claire sat beside him. "Ryan, I don't care about titles or money. You treat people the way I wish the world would. That's what matters to me." He turned to her, surprised by the emotion in her voice. "You really mean that?" She nodded. "I do. You showed me that kindness isn't weakness. It's strength." Still, Ryan pulled away for a while. He threw himself into work, trying to ignore the ache in his chest. But Claire didn't give up. A week later, she showed up at the elementary school during Emma's science fair. She brought flowers, not for Ryan, but for Emma. "You built a solar system out of cereal boxes," she said, kneeling beside her. "That's the most creative thing I've seen all week." Emma grinned. "Dad helped me paint the planets." Claire looked up at Ryan. "He's good at holding worlds together," she said softly. It was in that moment, surrounded by children's laughter and paper stars, that Ryan realized something. Claire didn't just see him for what he did. She saw him for who he was. And maybe, just maybe, it was okay to let someone care about him too. Months passed, and their connection only grew stronger. They took Emma to the zoo, shared homemade dinners, and even spent Christmas together, Ryan cooking pancakes shaped like reindeer while Claire helped Emma decorate the tree. For the first time in years, the house felt full of life again. On New Year's Eve, as fireworks painted the sky, Claire took Ryan's hand. "Remember when I thought you were my bodyguard?" she laughed. Ryan chuckled. "Hard to forget that." She smiled. "Well, I think you still are not the kind that protects me from people, but the kind that protects my heart." Ryan's eyes softened. "And you, Claire, you brought kindness back into my life. You reminded me it's okay to start over." They kissed under the bright sparks of midnight, while Emma cheered, "You, Dad," from the couch. Sometimes, life's biggest blessings come disguised as accidents, a wrong assumption, a mistaken identity, a moment that could have gone unnoticed. For Ryan and Claire, it all began with one small act of kindness, a man staying silent to protect a stranger's dignity. That single choice opened the door to healing, hope, and love. Kindness doesn't need grand gestures. It starts with being present, being gentle, and choosing compassion over pride. You never know who might be watching, or whose life you might change forever. So wherever you are, be the reason someone still believes in good people. Because sometimes, kindness doesn't just change the world, it changes hearts. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to your channel name for more stories that remind us of the beauty in everyday kindness. And tell us in the comments, when was the last time a small act of kindness changed your day? Because in the end, that's what life's really about, being kind, and letting kindness find you back.